Today, students, in the last session we discussed about Bloom taxonomies. In this session, I'm just going to talk about the learning outcomes, or designing the learning outcomes themselves, because that is what you are asked to do for your assignment. So why are learning outcomes so important? They are important because they define the type and depth of learning that is needed. They provide objective benchmark for assessment and communicate expectations to students, and they also guide and organize teaching and learning. The learning outcomes need to be smart. They should be smart. I would even say they must be smart. They have to be specific. What exactly do you want the student to tell you? They have to be measurable. How much of the information do you want? They have to be achievable. Can the student get it? It must be available. It must be part of the content that they have done. They have to be realistic. They have to be true. They have to be something that is achievable, that is true, and they also have to be time bound. You have to add time on to it, like how much of it is required, so they have to now when you are writing learning objectives, you, like as we have said in the Bloom taxonomy, the verbs are very important. It starts with the verb, and then it goes on with the noun, and then there should be a condition on the learning outcome. So the verb can be like identify. That is the verb. Identify what? The key terms. Key terms for what? The key terms that are relevant to research topic. So that is the condition. So the student is not confused. They know they are only identifying the key terms, and these key terms are for research topics. Okay. And then the second one, like select types of energy for different purposes. Okay, like select is the verb. What? It's the type of energy. For what? It's for different purposes. Maybe different purposes in mining, different purposes in what. You can even add the qualifier. Or then the last one is explain the principles required to ensure customer satisfaction, maybe in a business sector, maybe in an insurance sector, or so. So explain is the verb, and then the noun what, okay, which is the principle, but way, okay, or for what. That is the principle required to ensure customer satisfaction. You can even add a qualifier, way, maybe in the business sector. Okay, so there should be a constructive alignment when designing learning outcome. By constructive alignment, we mean that the constructive aspect refer to what learners does, which is to construct meaning through relevant learning activity, because the learning activities are determined by the learning content that you give the student. So there should be a content, and that is where you can derive learning activity from. So the alignment refers to what the teacher does. What do you do to support the learning activities as appropriate to the achieved desired learning? So the teaching methods that are used to deliver the content and the assessment should be aligned, So there should be an alignment between the content, between the how it's delivered, and also the activities that are put out there, and also if they are also in agreement with their or set according to the learning outcomes, and that determines your learning. So what students will know and should be able to do. So instead of using will, we use should when we construct learning outcomes. It's because it's not compulsory that all the learners should know or must know, but it's only some. You give a chance to those that are trying also to be accommodated. Okay, that's why it's not a must. So, and there should be now an alignment between the intended learning outcomes, the teaching and learning activities, and the assessment. Okay, so when you are going to design, what we call a task analysis or a blueprint. And a blueprint is more like a daily planning tool. It's just like when you are saying it's a grocery list or maybe a plan for your house, you know. So we are using that blueprint to develop our course, our online course. So we need to use it to determine and select the learning outcomes that are appropriate for instructional development and for which group or the target group that we are focusing on. Determine or define and describe in detail instructional activities that the students will perform. Specify the content student needs to do in the activity. Determine the teaching strategies that are required. Prioritize and sequence the activity, and also maybe use media, sometimes media that is needed, and also maybe assessment and evaluation. These are some of the things that are kind of what are you going to assess. These are some of the things that we are going to plan when we are using, or when you take you through the blueprint. Okay, so you need to classify the activities, select activities and learning outcomes, and also maybe instructional materials and maybe assessment procedures, and that is what we are going to talk about in the next video.